Warm greetings from TNV Academy. Today in this session, we will talk about ISO and IC 27040, which is Information Technology Security Techniques Storage Security. However, before we begin, let's take a quick look at the key takeaways of this session. At the end of this session, you will be able to understand what is ISO 27040, who can implement ISO 27040, key concepts of ISO 27040, and what is the scope and primary objectives of ISO 27040. So let's begin our discussion and know what is ISO 27040 is all about. Published in January 2015, ISO and IC 27040 2015 offers comprehensive technical guidance on how organizations should identify an acceptable level of risk reduction through a well-proven, consistent approach to data storage security preparation, design, documentation, and implementation. It aims to illustrate common risks related to the security, honesty, and availability of data on different information storage technologies. ISO 27040 also urges organizations to reinforce their protection of sensitive information with adequate information security controls. The norm also helps enhance assurance by encouraging, for example, assessments or audits of information security measures protecting stored information. Storage security refers to the protection of data where it is stored. Storage security also relates to the defense of the transmission of information through communication links connected with the storage. Security storage includes device and media security, protection of device and media management practices, application and services security. Data protection is a collection of parameters and settings that make data resources accessible and inaccessible to other entities of approved users and trusted networks. These can refer to hardware, programming, communications, protocols, and organizational policy. There are a few issues that are critical when considering a storage area network (SAN) security processes. Stored data must be readily available to unauthorized individuals, entities, and organizations. It must also be challenging for possible hackers to exploit the system. The infrastructure must be reliable and stable across different environments and uses volumes. Who can implement ISO 27040? ISO 27040 offers guidelines for the implementation of information security technologies within the storage networking industry and advice on the adoption of information assurance to storage systems as well as on data protection and security concerns. Although often overlooked, storage protection is important to everyone engaging with data storage devices, media, and networks, owning, running, or using. This includes senior managers, storage product and service acquirers, and other non-technical managers or users, as well as managers and administrators who have the individual responsibility for information security or storage security, or who are for the overall information security and security policy implementation. It is also applicable to those involved in planning, designing, and implementing storage network security architectural aspects. This standard advocates, though, that the information protection dimensions of the data storage system and networks were ignored due to misconceptions and a lack of experience with storage technologies or a limited knowledge of inherent risk or security principles. Let's move forward and talk about the key concepts of ISO 27040. A significant component of ISO and IC 27040 standard is focused on defining security controls for various storage systems and architectures. This contains the following. The first one is Direct Attached Storage (DAS) guidelines. Second one is comprehensive coverage of storage network technologies and topologies focusing on storage area network (SAN) and network attached storage (NAS). The third one is identifying the critical security issues and storage recommendations, block-based storage system protection with fiber channel and IP interfaces that go beyond storage network materials. The fourth one is file-based storage device protection with NFS, SMB and CIFS and PNFS interfaces. The fifth one is cloud storage protection, OSD and content addressable storage CAS, system management guidelines including sanitization, data confidentiality and data reduction. The bibliography is among the most extensive collections of data security references. Here we will now briefly discuss the 7 key concepts of ISO 27040R. The first one is authentication. In information security, authentication is the act of confirming whether someone is actually who or what they claim to be. Authentication verifies a person, process or device's identified, sometimes as a prerequisite of accessing resources in an information system. There are 3 authentication types: single-factor authentication, two-factor authentication, multi-factor authentication. Single-factor authentication, often called primary authentication, is the simplest method of authentication. Single-factor authentication requires only one authentication mechanism, such as password, security PIN, etc., to obtain access to a system or service. Although these approaches are more accessible, they are often connected to lesser security practices. Two-factor authentication, 2FA, adds additional complexity. 2FA needs a second component to confirm identity. Typical uses include registered computer tokens, one-time password or PINs. The mere existence of 2 user authentication methods dramatically enhances your overall security, as 2FA will mitigate 80% of data breaches. Multi-factor authentication, MFA, is by far the most advanced authentication mechanism. It utilizes 2 or more independent variables to allow users access to a system. In standard cases, MFA approaches to use at least 2 or 3 categories. Something you know, password or PIN. Something you do, typing pace, location, etc. The second one is access control and authorization. Access control is the deliberate limitation of access to a location, website or other resources and assets. Access could involve processing, visiting or using an asset. Permission to access an asset is referred to as authorization. Authorization is a protection method used to define user or client rights or access levels related to resources including computer programs, directories, services, information and program features. Authorization is usually followed by authentication of user identity. The third one is self-encrypting drives. A SED is a self-encrypting hard drive that is a form of hard drive that automatically and continuously encrypts data without user intervention. A self-encrypting drive usually has a circuit built into a disk drive controller chip. This chip encodes all data to the magnetic media and automatically decrypts all data again. Surprisingly, a fair amount of hard drives currently on the market are SED. As manufacturers do not consider this as to be a significant feature, it's often lost in other generally more significant aspects. Even when you buy, install and begin using a SED drive, the encryption is automatic, so it's unlikely that the user will realize that the drive is a SED. Sanitization can take various forms depending on both information sensitivity and the amount of efforts a potential adversary might spend in trying to retrieve data. Methods used in sanitization vary from simply overwriting cryptographic key destruction for encrypted files to physical destruction of the storage device. The fifth one is guidance for storage security. The scope of ISO 27040 covers the security of devices and media, security of management activities related to the tools and the media within it, applications and services, and end users. In addition to this, ISO 27040 covers the security of the information being transferred across the communication links associated with storage. The standard describes information risk related to data storage and controls to mitigate the risk. The sixth one is design and implementation. Despite the increased capacity of personal computers and departmental workstations, reliance on centralized data centers persists due to data integration needs, data continuity and data quality. With a significant rise in essential data volumes, many companies have embraced storage-centered frameworks for their ICT infrastructure. Subsequently, storage security plays a vital role in protecting this information and acts as the last line of defense from external and internal threats in many situations. The seventh one is relationship with other standards. As ISO and IEC 27040-2015 provides an overview of storage security concepts, the standard includes guidance on the threat, design, and controls associated with typical storage scenarios and storage technology area that are complemented by several other ISO standards. Also, it provides references to different standards that address existing practices and techniques that can be applied to storage security. Now we will discuss our last point of discussion, what is the scope and primary objectives of ISO 27040. ISO 27040 provides technical guidance on the threat, design and control aspects associated with typical data storage scenarios. It defines storage security as the protection of information at the point of storage and during transfer across communication links related to storage. The standard specifies security as an aspect that protects devices, media, applications and services, as well as the security of devices in use and when they are at rest. Storage security is important for individuals who own, operate or use the storage devices. Primary objectives of ISO 27040. The three primary objectives of the ISO 27040 standard are: first, draw attention to the risk associated with data storage technologies. Second, assist organizations in improving the security of storage information. Third, provide a basics for auditing, designing and reviewing storage security controls. The standard covers a wide range of topics with respect to storage, its types, security risk, data reliability, retention, compliance and sanitization under section 6.8.1. This standard defines data sanitization and mentions media-based sanitization, logical sanitization, proof and verification of sanitization. So we have now come to the conclusion of this session. In case you have any questions on what we have discussed today, then please put them in the comment section of the video and we will be really happy answering them. Till we meet next, it's best wishes from TNV Academy. Thank you.